Today we are diving deep into a trend that's been sweeping the internet and the tattoo industry by storm, and that's the rise of Scratcher tattoo artists. All thanks to one app that we seemingly cannot get enough of. So how did TikTok, a platform known for its viral dances and comedic skits, become the breeding ground for this new wave of tattoo culture? It's a twist that some are claiming is actually ruining the entire tattoo industry. Tattooing now seems to be some sort of a DIY craze, with aspiring artists etching their designs into willing canvases in living rooms across the world. So stick around as we explore this fascinating journey from TikTok to tattoo gun and the impact that it's having on the art and the industry as a whole. First and foremost, the term scratcher is ever evolving, and while some people do try, I don't think that this is a derogatory term at all, nor do I intend to use it as one. But for the purpose of today's video, I do want to make a clear distinction between the term scratcher and self-taught tattoo artist. Today we'll describe a scratcher as an individual who is unlicensed and tattoos out of a home with no intention of working at a tattoo studio. Usually they have jobs or they go to school and they tattoo on the side for fun or for very little money. Scratchers are self-taught, but they usually start tattooing skin very early on, and they tend to scratch people's skin up, hence the term. And now, on the other hand, a self-taught tattoo artist is someone who did also learn how to tattoo at home, but they spent a lot of time learning how to safely tattoo, and they spent a lot of time tattooing fake skin before moving on to people. Self-taught artists usually go through the process of becoming licensed, and they tattoo themselves and their friends before eventually getting hired at a legitimate tattoo shop. So with those definitions out of the way, let's focus on the media giant that has stolen all of our attention spans. In 2020, if you don't remember, or if you've just purged those memories from your brain, everyone was stuck at home for what was then an undetermined amount of time. And because of this, TikTok took off. The Washington Post has a great article entitled "How TikTok Ate the Internet," in which they describe the platform as having become one of the most prominent, discussed, distrusted, technically sophisticated, and geopolitically complicated juggernauts on the internet. I don't love the term juggernauts because I think it sounds weird, but it does really encapsulate what we're talking about because it's defined as a massive force that seems to crush everything in its way. And if that doesn't perfectly describe TikTok, I don't know what does. As of May of this year, TikTok's growing user base amassed over 1 billion users. And its algorithm that's mysteriously tailored to every individual has entered us into this era of instant gratification that seemingly has seeped into every single aspect of our lives, including tattooing. TikTok was first a place where tattoo artists would show the behind the scenes of their daily lives as working artists. Then came the tattoo studio skit era, where creators like Jake Caramal, who calls himself the CEO of Tattoo TikTok, rose to popularity. This exposure into the tattoo industry was more intimate than people had ever seen before. While tattoo shows of the early 2000s birthed the celebrity tattoo artist that was more elusive, TikTok made way for a tattoo artist that felt like a friend, someone you feel like you know and that you can trust. And this marked a pretty huge turning point for tattooing. And it wasn't just TikTok, but social media as a whole flipped the tattoo industry upside down. Back when tattoos were more taboo, tattoo studios were more intimidating. There was this idea that you'd have to earn certain tattoos, be tough, and getting into the industry was incredibly difficult for aspiring artists. Information on how to tattoo was held close to the chest and not widely shared. People getting into the industry at this point in time were hazed, and there was this real idea that you had to suffer in order to become a tattoo artist one day. and many people didn't feel welcome in the tattoo industry at this point, particularly women, people of color, LGBTQ+ individuals, and disabled individuals. So when social media came around and we now all have access to so much information online, people who thought that they weren't cut out for tattooing finally found a way in. And they didn't have to be hazed anymore or clean shops for years before getting the opportunity to tattoo people. When I got my first tattoo apprenticeship in 2022, my mentors would tell me that I was the last tattoo apprentice, because more and more people were rejecting the apprenticeship structure altogether, and they were learning how to tattoo at home just as well as I was. And I didn't understand it at the time, but I think this is why my videos that I would make were so compelling to veteran tattoo artists. I would show clips of myself cleaning the tattoo studio, drawing, learning how to tattoo with a coil machine, and many people would tell me that I was actually doing it right. And I believed that. It wasn't until I left that shop and finished my apprenticeship elsewhere that I realized that becoming an apprentice isn't the right way to become a tattoo artist. I don't think there is one right way to become a tattoo artist. And for many people, being self-taught is their only option.
But basically I had a really bad apprenticeship. I should probably do a series about it, but honestly it was really traumatic, so it's hard to talk about. But it just crushed my soul, and even once I started tattooing somewhere else, I just my heart wasn't in it anymore.
The tattoo studio wanted me to work for free for 9 months before I could pick up a machine. So I decided to teach myself. This is month 4.
And there are many tattoo artists who are incredibly popular and well-known who are self-taught. Deanna James is a great example of someone who had a really bad apprenticeship. When her mentor told her that women get treated differently in this industry, she left, and her career just skyrocketed after then, as she taught herself how to tattoo incredibly well. She was on Ink Master a bunch of times. She now owns her own tattoo studio and has won many awards for her work. So we all love a self-taught artist. But what about scratchers? In 2021, Inked magazine recorded a TikTok video that inadvertently became the Scratcher Anthem. Inked magazine makes these interview-style videos that usually spark controversy in the industry. And now that I think about it, they're kind of rage-baiting us a lot. But I don't think that Inked magazine thought that this specific interview with tattoo artist Angel Rose would go down the way it did, because this video has now been removed from Inked magazine's official TikTok page. But I do have some screen recordings of the beginning of the video, and we have the whole audio. In the infamous clip, the interviewer asks, "How do you feel about people buying tattoo machines off Amazon and learning how to tattoo at home?" And Angel Rose responds saying, "Actually, I'll just let her explain it."
Honestly, I don't even know why Amazon has the licensing to sell such a device. Tattooing is not one of those things you get to pick up and try. I don't believe that. I think that, and I had a very traditional upbringing in tattooing. I did an apprenticeship, but I feel like as soon as I started, I was like, this is a responsibility. I don't want to go and fuck up all my homies permanently so that I can learn something. It's no, I want to be taught how to do something so that I can minimize the amount of damage I do.
This audio makes me want to buy a tattoo machine. When I tell you I not walked, but ran to Amazon to buy one. It's a very Gen Z move. Actually, it's just a very teenager move to hear this audio and think, I am actually going to buy an Amazon tattoo machine and tattoo at home because there's no one stopping me. And they're right, honestly, no one is stopping them. There are now hundreds and hundreds of videos under the sound of people tattooing themselves at home. People are tattooing on carpet. There's no gloves. They're using deodorant as stencil stuff. There's just a lot of really bad lines and really gross setups. But I get it. They're kids. They have no money to go out and get tattooed. They want to be tattooed and they can just buy a machine and do it. I can't say that if I was a teenager now that I would do any differently than them. Gen Z has grown up with the reward cycle of social media. They're used to that instant gratification. If they see something they want and they have the ability to get it, they're going to do it. The reward system in our brains that constantly wants more and more, we've all gotten used to at this point. And with this audio specifically, and like a lot of other audios that Inked magazine has, where older artists are saying, don't tattoo out of your house, don't get tattoos on your hands or your face. They're saying don't, but also it's in a teenager's heart to want to do the opposite of what older people are telling you not to do. It's like the rebellious nature of being a teenager, which ironically used to be a huge part of tattooing. And there's even a trend on TikTok where younger people who have bought these cheap Amazon machines are tattooing themselves every day for a year. This TikTok user at Scratcher with a 6 for the E at the end gains millions and millions of views on his videos tattooing himself at home, in his dorm room, in his car, in the hallway. Pretty much the grosser the setup, the better for this creator. But that's kind of the whole allure of it. And you could even call this style ignorant tattooing, which is essentially purposefully bad tattoos. And some people are spending hundreds of dollars getting ignorant tattoos in tattoo studios. And this kid is producing essentially the same thing in his dorm room. And when you think about it, there's really no incentive for them not to be doing this. I'm sure they're making a lot of money off of these TikTok videos, and they're getting what they want, which is their legs filled up with these tiny little scratcher, ignorant tattoos. And these type of tattoos are really popular with the younger generation right now. It doesn't really matter if they're good or bad. That's kind of the look of it. There's a lot of young people who are participating in this tattooing yourself for a year trend. And I will tell you a really sad story of a young man who participated in this trend, but unfortunately didn't make it a full year before tragically ending his own life. Noah Brady, who went by P-Word on TikTok, started this challenge on July 21st of 2022. And he would do a lot of pop culture meme type of tattoos on himself. And prior to this trend, Noah was actually really popular online for tattooing his friends at his house. And he did a lot of like good, creative, cool tattoos for his friends. But unfortunately, Noah was going through a lot with his mental health behind the scenes. Noah's mom came onto TikTok and said that he was so excited to make others happy, and unfortunately, he was hiding his own pain for a really long time. The very last tattoo that Noah posted was this cute little box top design, and this was on day 165 of the challenge. Noah clearly was a really creative, caring, and genuine person, and he touched the lives of many people. My heart really goes out to the Brady family, and if you or anyone you know is struggling with their mental health, just know that you're not alone and that there are resources out there, and I will have those resources linked down below. And I don't bring this tragic situation up to say that all kids tattooing at home are struggling with their mental health or going through anything similar to what Noah went through. I bring it up to say that our perception of things, particularly on social media, are vastly different from the reality of the situation. Because the reality of being a working tattoo artist, a self-employed artist, especially now in 2024, is incredibly difficult. And most tattoo artists are now seemingly struggling to make ends meet. When young people on social media see the lives of tattoo artists, they see freedom. Freedom from the 9-to-5 corporate world that we're all trained to think is what our lives should lead to. The allure of making your own schedule and creating art every day definitely is a huge, huge factor, I'm sure, for a lot of young people seeing tattoo content. But I'm not sure that the reality of getting into tattooing right now is what everyone thinks it is. In the last year or so, many tattoo artists have come onto social media to express their concerns with the fact that they think the industry is dying. As tattooers who are used to having their books filled out for months are now struggling to book a client per week. Is this the longest slow season ever, or has tattooing just changed? Is it a money issue for customers, or are tattoos just not cool anymore? The Vapor Mage on Reddit asked, "Is it the tattoo apocalypse, or do I just suck now?" And some artists are even complaining that scratchers or DIY home tattooers are what's killing the industry. This user on Threads wrote, "I really hate scratchers and rotary pens and Amazon tattoo kits. Please stop saturating the tattoo market and ruining tattooing. It will die because of you." But the reality is that it's not just teenagers with a couple of bucks in their pocket tattooing in their dorm room. Many grown adults are also picking up tattoo machines and opting to tattoo from home. I think TikTok has a really huge role to play in this, as the ease of information has inspired a DIY generation. And this is across many different things, not just tattooing. Jonah Stillman is an author and co-founder of a Gen Z research and consulting firm called Gen Guru. And Jonah argues that Gen Z is the do-it-yourself generation. Jonah says this generation believes in its abilities, making them feel like they can achieve anything, which has translated into this entrepreneurial mentality. And Jonah says that it's the internet that has caused this do-it-yourself generation, where anyone who wants to learn pretty much anything can just look it up on TikTok or YouTube or Google. And a lot of people are just picking up things that they may have not done before. Another huge factor that's playing into all of this is money. And it's definitely no secret that the American economy is tanking right now, and most people are feeling the effects of it. In those Reddit posts we talked about before, commenters are apologetic, saying that they simply can't afford to go out and get tattooed anymore. A few days ago, as of me recording this, Business Insider just revealed that a recession is almost certain at this point. Unemployment rates in the United States are getting higher and higher, and the article states that we are worse now than we were in the 1990 and 2001 recessions. With how prices for everything have just absolutely skyrocketed, people are struggling to afford housing and to feed themselves. So the luxury of tattooing definitely falls by the wayside. And tattoo artists are feeling this pressure too, with many of them who have maybe been tattooing 5-10 years are now struggling to make a livable wage, forcing some to set down their machines altogether and get regular jobs. So are scratchers killing the tattoo industry, or is it this perfect storm that seems to be about to really hit the industry as we know it? I've talked about this a few times on my channel before, but the popularity of tattoos might also be a factor here. Earlier this year, The Guardian came out with an article questioning, are tattoos about to become uncool? You may get a tattoo at age 18 if your 35-year-old idol has one, but if your 47-year-old parent has one, no thank you. The article even claims that tattoos are now middle class, saying that if you're 20 years old and you can afford a tattoo in this economy, you're probably living at home with your parents. Or maybe you're tattooing at your parents' house. So the tattoo industry is at a really weird place right now. And honestly, I don't know what the next 5 or 10 years will look like. There's one thing that is abundantly clear, and that's that tattooing is diverse and it is evolving. And while we can definitely recognize that there's a huge amount of drive and ambition with these younger at-home tattooers, we can equally acknowledge that there is a public health risk with tattooing like this, and potentially a risk for the tattoo industry at large that we just can't pinpoint just yet. But with that, as always, I would love to know what you think about how TikTok has inspired a generation of scratchers. Let me know in the comments down below. But if you've made it to the end of this video, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. If you have, leave me this emoji in the comments so I know that you are a real one. Bye everyone.